Spring was easing into summer in St. Peter, Minnesota in 1949. After nearly 20 years as a university engineering professor, John Bolton worked as a freelance engineer. Martin Menk, a former student of John's at St. Peter's Gustavus Adolphus College, was back in town after a stint in World War II and earning his engineering degree out west. Both were on the lookout for something new. They ran into each other and got to talking shop.
One thing you have to realize about America in the 50s is that we were coming out of a post-World War II.
We were coming out of a very traumatic time, kind of a triumphant time. We started as a country to really come out of that time and do things differently.
A color display will tell exactly
significant growth that we were seeing and the need for infrastructure improvements, really helped launch Bolton and Menk and the services that we're able to provide to our communities.
Bolton and Menk helped form my life. We learned everything from those men. They were just special. I always feel good that I knew the original owners. And so they obviously garnered the respect of all these communities. And that's why I think we continue to be the civil engineers and the city engineers in these towns for years and years and years.
I understand that St. Peter is one of the communities we've worked for the entire 75 years and maybe a handful of others, where there's been a relationship there, but because it matters how you deliver services.
If there's one word that I could use to describe the leadership of Bolton and Menk, it would be courageous. It's amazing to see the foresight that our leaders have had over the generations to see what this company could ultimately become.
John had just a real good sense of humor, a good wit, just a fun guy to be around. He just exuberated energy.
I was fortunate enough to know Martin Menk. He was the ultimate city engineer. He was committed as much as any person I've ever seen in our industry to his clients. Yeah, he was just a great human being.
So the two of them really created a company that had a good foundation. They created a culture that was kind of self-generating.
And then Bill Sayer was the third president of the company. Bill's a very genuine, kind human being.
Bill was involved in our first debut into the metro area. He created a good example. He had a good way of being with employees in a way where they felt empowered.
I grew up around Bolton and Menk. I grew up in this company. My father was John Ripke, the president of Bolton and Menk for 17 years. So I've seen a lot of firsthand work that he did, treating people with kindness and with respect. He was a big mentor in my life.
Brad DeWolf and Craig Schmidt are our president and vice president, and I think they've done a great job so far with growing Bolton and Menk. I have seen so many offices open just in the last 6 years that I've been here, and growth within the whole company and also within our work group. I think we've been really supported with growing our services and offering more and more to our clients.
Brad and Craig have brought Bolton and Menk to a whole nother level. We have expanded not only our footprint, but also I think that's really important is the expansion of our employees, bringing opportunities not only to Bolton and Menk, but to individuals as they grow in their careers. That's key in order for people to grow and find meaning and purpose.
I think the main thing I learned from my predecessors was to preserve the culture that we have at Bolton and Menk. Craig and I have very complementary leadership skills. We have a great amount of trust for each other. And I will say this, he's one of my best friends.
When you drive through towns in the upper Midwest, or you drive on major roadways in the upper Midwest, it's pretty hard to be in a community or really on a road, even these days, that Bolton and Menk hasn't touched from a project perspective. And as I've seen a lot of projects built over the years, you have that moment in time where you're like, yes, this is what is intended to be here. It interfaces perfectly with the natural environment, it interfaces perfectly with the built environment, and that's really kind of what you're going for.
And so if you look at the infrastructure transformation that's happened within this country over the last 75 years, it's been dramatic. Bolton Menk has been there along the way. We've evolved, and I'd say we're evolving faster today than we were even then, helping communities to build, helping to beautify, helping to plan communities, helping people to live a vibrant life that people want to live in this country.
The commitment to client service, the commitment to relationship community, and grassroots on the ground, knowing your people, knowing the place matters so much. That's how I interpret the history, is understanding what made it successful to date and making sure we don't lose that even as we evolve and grow nationally.
We've grown in the Midwest over the years organically. We're going to start growing in the Southeast organically, and we're also going to grow in the Southwest organically. So with the geographic footprint we have, we can serve about 15% of the population in the United States. And to me, that's very exciting that we can look at 15% of the entire United States population and help the people live in safe, sustainable, and beautiful communities.
So if there's one thing that hasn't changed over the last nearly 30 years that I've been with this company, it's our commitment to our clients. It's the reason why we get out of bed every day. We want to deliver the best possible projects, the best possible infrastructure to our client communities. That's what this company's all about.